All right.
All right. Thank you, Connor, for getting this set up today. I really appreciate it. This is our second Rise and Grind with St. Mary's Young Professionals, and we've been inviting local community guests to talk to us about issues that are facing our young professionals population, especially now in kind of our COVID-19 environment. This one is a little bit different, and we're going to be talking to Erin about Leadership Southern Maryland and the new Emerging Leaders Program that they have been working on and just kicked off. So for those of you who don't know St. Mary's Young Professionals, we are the leading organization in St. Mary's County that is bringing together the next generation thinkers and leaders to gather, grow, and give in this community locally. I'm Christina Johansson. I run the organization. We've got a couple of board members on the line as well. And I am lucky enough to be a graduate of Leadership Southern Maryland from last year. And part of my project with Leadership Southern Maryland, and Erin can get into this later, was to develop an emerging leaders development program. So we are really thrilled to have been able to pilot the program this year. And it's been a really big accomplishment for us and for the community to have that. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Erin. And Erin, if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we can get into your presentation.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thanks for the intro, Christina. Thanks for having Denise and I on here. Denise is the Executive Director of Leadership Southern Maryland, and I am managing the new Emerging Leaders Program. So real quick about me, other than Leadership Southern Maryland, I am the co-owner of Xella Winery and Vineyard in Mechanicsville. My husband and I run it. And that's about it in a nutshell. I did just join my first ever board on Maryland Wineries Association, representing Southern Maryland, so that's exciting. Doing a couple committees, the Government Affairs Committee, dealing with state level lobbying and legislation, etc. So that's been fun and new. But yeah, would you like me to throw up the presentation? Yeah, okay. Let's see here. I guess before I do that real quick, is there anybody that doesn't know what Leadership Southern Maryland does or is, or are you all familiar with it?
I only have a vague idea of what they do.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure how many people on here, so I just wanted to put together something real quick just to give a brief idea. All right, let's. Okay. Can everybody see the slideshow? Yes?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So our mission here at Leadership Southern Maryland is to educate and inspire a wide range of current and now emerging leaders to help them create opportunities for networking, which historically has resulted in collaborations and partnerships that can impact the needs of our Tri-County community, because we're a Tri-County organization of Calvert, Charles, and St. Mary's. So for those of you who may not know much about LSM or our new YP program, I wanted to briefly talk about LSM's flagship executive program that's currently in its 12th year. So to be a part of the executive program, you must be a mid to senior level executive. You have quite a bit of leadership skills under your belt. In the program, you'll learn how to better utilize those skills within your community. The program days are curated by former grads, and they include behind-the-scenes experiences with organizations and leaders all across the Tri-County area. So for our LEAP program, it's for new or emerging leaders, and the purpose of this program is to hone and refine your leadership skills. So it's more skills-based and less experiential, like with the executive program. In addition to learning about how to be a better leader, you'll also gain a network of current leaders in the community, whether it be with LSM alumni and or with the speakers that we have present on the program days, because many of our speakers are alumni. So what does the LEAP program look like? There are 6 program days, 1 per month, going from January through June. Each day has a different theme with different speakers, different activities. Day 1, we define what makes a good leader, and we also have an emergenetics facilitator come that day to go over your personality assessment, which you complete prior to the start of the program, and how, on day 1, how your personality profile can affect your interactions with others. Day 2, we discuss the importance of mentorships and team building, as well as some in-depth discussion on diversity and inclusion in the workplace. I think you can see the back of Destiny's head in that picture.
Yep.
Day 3, we teach you how to build your brand and the various networking tools you can use to do so. We also delve into issues regarding the multi-generational workplace, i.e. how millennials and baby boomers can bridge the gap in communication. Day 4, we explore ethics as it relates to leadership and how, as leaders, we can give back to the community. Day 5, we go over some methods of stress management. For example, we have a yoga meditation teacher come to give a lesson on meditation. And then we'll also dive into conflict management and how we can lead versus manage change within our organizations. And day 6 is the capstone and graduation day. So at the beginning of the program, you're placed into teams where you'll spend the next 6 months working together on your capstone project. And then on day 6, you'll present your project to the class with your team, assess your initial and create future goals, and then celebrate your success in completing the program. And at the end of each program day, we host an after-hours social where LSM grads and alumni are invited to attend as well. And it's just a great networking opportunity and a great way to unwind with your classmates at the end of each day. So our application window for the next LEAP class is June 15th through September 15th. And then the board will select the applicants and you'll be notified in October. And then the program begins in January of next year with graduation in June. And short and sweet, that's all I got.
No, that's great, Erin. I think you did a great job kind of distinguishing between the executive program and LEAP. And I know the great part about this particular call is that we've got Destiny, who I'm totally going to call out, and you knew it. We've got Destiny on the line, who is a current LEAP participant. We've had to kind of adjust what we're doing with LEAP based on COVID, and unfortunately, we have had to push some of our sessions to the right. So we're a little bit off of our normal timeline. It's the first year that we're doing that. There was bound to be something, I guess. But Destiny, it would be really great to hear from you what your experience has been so far. And what made you want to take part in something like LEAP? Would you mind kind of just sharing your experience?
Of course I don't mind. Erin asked me, I knew you were going to ask me, so it's fine. So I have enjoyed so far. So we know due to COVID, a lot of things have changed, stopped, and paused. But we had 2 sessions so far, and so far I really enjoyed being a part of the program. As the feedback that Erin and Denise and Christina probably have gotten already. But in being a part of the program, I know Christina, I think you nominated me. But when I learned about the program, I'm like, oh, this is an excellent. I was like, I'm a young emerging leader. this fits me. But it was a great opportunity to learn more about Southern Maryland and collaborate with people outside of my office and outside of my immediate ecosystem. Especially being in the role and department that I'm in economic development, it's great just to branch out and learn more about the other regions, but also like teaching other people about what's going on in St. Mary's County. So it's been a really good melting pot, mixing pot of different people. The one thing that I loved so far, well, I loved a lot of things, but Erin mentioned the emergenetics profile, where you learn your leadership preferences and things of that nature. As she mentioned, we did like a quiz or survey or assessment before the program even started. And the first day was really about learning how or what your leadership traits were. And so we did like a deep dive into that the first day. And so I just remember like my biggest trait was social. And I'm like, oh, am I really a social person? But I had a mini crisis, and me and Christina talked it through a little bit. But just showing how you're and my biggest were structural and social, which makes sense because I'm very like data driven. I like things to go a certain way, but then I'm also I'm becoming more social as I'm getting older. So that's something that I learned about myself. And then I loved how they put us in groups. So we do have a project that we have to tackle. So for example, my group's project is opioid crisis. And so we have to explore that with leaders in Charles County, St. Mary's, and Calvert County. And so in our group, they put us in groups based on our leadership traits and preferences and things like that. So we have all the groups, I believe, I love my group, but all the groups I believe have a really well-rounded perspectives that makes it easy to work together. And then also just bringing in different leaders throughout Southern Maryland to our classes. So day one, we spent time we were in Charles County, and then day two, we were in St. Mary's County. So, and then the next one will be in Calvert, I think. We'll see what happens. But yeah, it's been a really good, even though it's only been 2 sessions so far, it's been a really good introduction to the program.
Thanks. No, I kind of see the same thing with the groups. So I guess I want to open it up to maybe Matt. Matt, you're an interesting example on here too. As are you, Dominic, if you had an opportunity to get yourself unmuted. Just because of what you guys are currently doing with entrepreneurship and innovation as young professionals. But something that I was talking to Erin about yesterday, and it's less of a question for Erin and Denise on LSM and LEAP, but it's more a discussion around young professionals being able to take on leadership opportunities and roles in St. Mary's County. LSM and LEAP are Southern Maryland based, so it's Calvert, Charles, and St. Mary's. Obviously, St. Mary's Young Professionals is strictly for St. Mary's, so I'd like to focus a little bit more on St. Mary's. But are you all seeing opportunities as millennials, as young professionals, to lead in either your workplaces or in nonprofit organizations around the county, or do you see that there is a gap there? More just kind of an open question for whoever's interested.
I'll jump in. Matt Hayes. I guess I have a leadership role at this time, and it was created, it fills a gap, right? And hopefully a temporary one is kind of its purpose. It wasn't something that existed a month and a half ago, that role, and now it does, and hopefully in like 3 months it won't exist again, and we'll move on. I do feel in the county a general trend of the older generation that is in leadership roles. There's mixed feelings about giving younger people leadership, and it depends on which source you're in. Certainly the the Navy side likes to see us kind of jump up and take some leadership roles, and some of the more traditional sides of the county, I think, view us as the change that they don't want. So it can be a little mixed.
Well, so Matt, I think you bring up a really good point with kind of the different demographics that we have here in St. Mary's County. So something that I've noticed, and I guess this isn't really a question for anybody, but more of an observation on my part, is that, you know, organizations like LSM, whether it's through the executive program or through LEAP, and obviously LEAP is a little bit more relevant to this particular demographic on the line, but there's a really great opportunity through both of those programs to really try to bring those two sides together, right? So bringing all of the experience of the, you know, the existing infrastructure in St. Mary's County and the newer folks, or more younger or more junior folks, I guess, who have some different ideas on how to make some changes. It brings a really great opportunity for those two sides to come together, because it teaches some of either the people who are newer to the county or those who are more junior about the county and about Southern Maryland in general. So I think part of Destiny, and this is what you were talking about earlier too, is part of that is you don't know what you don't know. If you don't understand the nuances between certain governmental organizations, or if you don't understand what the roles and responsibilities of certain groups are, you could very easily step on somebody else's toes. You could inadvertently be stripping funding from somewhere else that really needed it, that was also fulfilling their mission. So I think one of the really big benefits of LSM, again, through both the executive program and through LEAP, is gaining a little bit more awareness of the environment that we all operate in. And even though with LEAP, there's a lot more of professional development, there is still that awareness of what's going on in each county, like Destiny was talking about with her group project. So I don't know.
And Christina, right now, thinking about collaboration, like, you know, we're in the midst of a crisis, but I'm just thinking about how Chris has a weekly conference call with Charles County and Calvert County every week, the economic development directors, just to see what resources they can share, what's going on, what's new. So like that just made me think of that, like, because even during this crisis, we're all working together just to get certain solutions. So
yeah, and it really is a small world down here. It forces a lot more collaboration because the counties are smaller, but we're really in this geographic environment that encourages us to work together. So I don't know if this is really like a total tangent for anybody, but I am curious what other leadership programs have you all been in locally, or just generally in your histories or careers? And do you feel like that has given you an advantage here in Southern Maryland?
So I completed the last session of the County Citizens Academy.
Oh, that's right.
Yes, because Christina recommended it. A big part of that was because it was free. So that was a nice advantage. And I think the biggest thing I was looking to get out of that was networking opportunities, to be able to meet some people, especially leaders in the county. And I was certainly able to do that. I mean, I don't put it on my resume or anything. And unless I'm looking to be on a county board or commission, I don't think it's really going to help me directly. But that networking opportunity has certainly been helpful.
Yeah, and I don't know, maybe Denise or Erin can talk to a little bit of this. and Destiny as well, since you're part of it. But I think that's one of the really big benefits to LSM and all of the programs within LSM, is the ability to network with people that otherwise you would never come into contact with in your normal sphere of influence.
Can I ask something, Christina?
Yeah.
This is St. Mary's specific. So have you guys talked to, you probably have, but Eric Colvin at all?
No, we haven't. So in Destiny, this might actually be a little bit quasi-directed towards you, because I know economic development just did a presentation to everybody on millennials and how to retain millennials in St. Mary's County. So did you want to talk, maybe you can answer that better, Destiny, but quick answer is no, Denise, we haven't talked to Eric directly.
Well, and partially too, just because of the involvement. He sent me a list like this long of all of the boards and committees and groups in St. Mary's County that they were recruiting for. I mean, it was a full page email.
So why,
No,
so why is it, I guess, that, and this is maybe more of a non-answerable question for this, but if there are that many leadership positions open, how is it that the word is not getting out to anybody but the standard people who are already on like 10 boards? Like how can we get information? Because I wouldn't know where to even look if I was new, and I wouldn't necessarily know, if I wasn't well connected, who to even go to, or that there would be opportunities out there, or that my ideas would be welcomed on a board. Connor?
Yes. So it's all on the county website, which I learned about at Citizens Academy. But I can say that the really the almost entire reason why I'm not on a county board is because the terms are hella long. They're 3 to 5 years minimum, and I'm just not, I can't commit to that. I mean, I'm looking to stay in Southern Maryland for like 2 to 3 years at most. So I'm not going to be on a 5-year board.
That's fair. So for those of you who, sorry, Matt.
So as somebody that has been building a board, I don't have any answers, but I have some comments because this is new to me, right? This is my first nonprofit, and it's a doozy. We did some quick math like 3 weeks ago and realized that we were potentially way in over our heads. So admittedly, we looked for very experienced board members to lead the way. And then all right, so our method to build a board as creating a brand new organization was to call someone that knew what they were doing and ask for recommendations. So we called an experienced naval officer who's also a retired CO and asked for him to recommend us a board. And, we got a list of recommendations, and basically almost everybody that we called was willing to jump on, but they had to check with like the other 5 boards that they were already on first. So like that is definitely an issue. And as we started getting into the weeds on that and like trying to find board members and members that were not engineers, because an organization requires a lot more than engineers, we began to realize that we were just kind of using people that were already busy at a lot of things. And it was Barbara Ives who really jumped out and was like, well, this is now, we were not looking to use this organization to give anyone a leg up, right? We're just trying to solve a problem like really, really quickly. But she pointed out, well, hey, we're asking all these experienced members to do work. Maybe this is the right opportunity to have younger members do work. And so maybe you have an experienced board member, and then the person that does all the day-to-day stuff that that board member would be responsible for is someone who's the next generation that is looking to advance. And so that's actually kind of where we're looking now that we got the basics and we got the board written and we know how to hold a meeting. We'll be looking for younger people that are a little more eager to be involved in what we're doing. So not an answer, just a comment. But yeah, when we went looking, that's what we found was a whole bunch of people who already have who are already on like 5 boards.
Well, and so I guess, and that's an interesting point, Matt, and to yours as well, Connor. This is something that, you know, I have found is that it is easy for us as young professionals to be really enthusiastic about joining a board, but it is really challenging sometimes with A, the duration, and B, the financial expectation of being part of a board. So there is a lot of pressure on board members to financially contribute or to have their companies financially contribute to, you know, whatever board you happen to be on, because it's, you know, that's part of your goal is to keep this organization front and center. It's to keep it functioning. It is a cause that you obviously believe in. The hard part for us is that, I mean, I don't have those financial resources. I also don't have that pull at my company, right? To dictate where funding goes. And I think some of that is a real, not a turnoff, but it is a real turnoff for people who are really itching to get active on boards and to share their experiences and to share their knowledge as more junior members, but with great ideas. I think it's a real impediment to taking on those leadership positions. I don't know if anybody else has comments on that.
I think that, well, one, Denise, if you can, I would love to have that list. One is like getting the word out there, right? That's what I'm big on, getting information out there. And so Connor said he found it on the county site. We know it's there, but everyone doesn't know that's there. Everyone doesn't know where to start with certain things. So like pushing it out through the SMYP newsletter, I can push it, you know, just pushing information out and getting it out there. That's the first step.
Right.
And then once it's in people's face, then like, okay, now I know where to go get the information. I might be interested in this, but just putting the information out there and letting them make the decision. Okay, maybe I can do 2 years, maybe I can do 3, 5. I can't do that. You know, like just, I think the biggest thing is just information getting out there first, so that you don't continue to get the repeat offenders. Like, you know, we see the same people on a lot of boards. We see the same people over and over again. So like it's getting information out to more people is the first step, and more young people if we want to, you know, make the transition go smooth, you know, as more people retire and lay down more things. I think that's the first step of that.
Well, I think that, you know, exposure, this kind of all circles around exposure and awareness, like you guys were saying. I think that, and I've noticed this with the first 2 sessions of LEAP, Destiny, I don't know if you've noticed this, but there's a lot of enthusiasm. The leaders that have shown up to the first 2 days, these are your older generations that have shown up, are really excited and amazed at the young leaders that we have. And they are enthusiastic to support the millennials, the people in the class. So I think exposure on both sides. It's not, I don't think that the older generations are just grumpy old people that don't want YPs in leadership roles. I just don't think that they necessarily know, 1, the potential, or 2, just it's not in their face. So they just don't think about it. And so I think that is important, is bridging the gap in multiple ways, not just with communication, but just exposure. If you're exposed to more, in different counties, different industries, different generations. That exposure will broaden your mindset and definitely create opportunities.
Yeah, Denise, you were going to say something?
I have my master's degree in nonprofit management, so I could take up the rest of the time and pontificate about boards and other things. But I will say from the LSM perspective, it depends what your structure is. I mean, a lot of our work and the creative ideas really come from the committees. You can join a committee, which is less commitment than joining the board. The financial aspect is really helpful. I mean, it depends what kind of organization you're working for. I worked at Canines for Warriors for quite a while, and I did a lot of grant applications. I did a lot of variety of philanthropy efforts. And almost every application, it asked if your board supported you financially. And, all of those questions you were mentioning that are a requirement, it shows, how meaningful this organization, if it's, the board kind of sets the pace. So it's really important that the board, has these additional responsibilities, but you can always join a committee, I would assume, for most organizations, and still get your input with maybe slightly less harsh, more requirements.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good point, and it just takes a little bit of awareness as well. Kind of back to both Destiny and Erin's point, is that just being aware of whatever the opportunities are. It is very challenging. When I moved down here, I would have had no idea where to go to see if there was a board opening. I don't know that I would have considered myself ready to be on a board, which, I think that plagues a lot of more junior folks too, is, okay, well, we have a little bit of experience, but what does a board really need from us? And a lot, actually. But even being aware of what the boards are, what the committees are, what even is out there is a real challenge. So Destiny, I guess for Destiny and Connor, I think we should really take a look at that list and kind of see where, our demographic can fit in with some of the opportunities that Eric sent to Denise.
I will also say this. I think the notification I got a few months ago was when we had openings on the Economic Development Commission for the county, because we work with them, so they sent us like, hey, go find people, right? Or but on the Economic Development Commission, I think there's about 12 to 14 people. I can't count right now, but we have 3 young professionals on the board, and everyone's super excited about it. They're like, oh, where'd you come from? How'd you find out about this? But I know from one of them has come to SMYP events. He was like, well, I wanted to be a part of the board, and I went looking to see if I can, for this board. So like, also people who just have a one-track mind that know what they want to do, they'll find it. But I think it's pretty cool that we have 3 younger professionals that offer a different perspective on the EDC now. So
yeah,
really,
that's awesome. And I think I wonder if it would be helpful from an SMYP perspective, and maybe some other organizations, to do spotlights on younger people that are on boards and in those leadership positions, right? Because I guess there isn't as much awareness of it. You don't see it, right? You don't see the younger people on the boards as often. You look around at, your pictures in the newspaper or things up on Facebook, and it's not necessarily, if you don't see yourself there, it's a more challenging thing to go and actively seek to be a part of. So I think that's, that's, again, back to LEAP, right? I think that's a big benefit of LEAP, is that it is very visible that there are, 20 plus leaders right there in the room, captive audience, who want to go and make a difference. They want to be active in the community. They want to be they want to be these future leaders. And I think that's a great audience for things like this and civic engagement. So
I think, Christina, it's interesting that you guys are trying to figure out as young professionals, you know, how do we find these opportunities? And then organizations are always talking about how do we find young professionals? We're all trying to find each other.
Yeah, and that's so, and I think that's a great place for like all of the county's YP groups to kind of filter into, right? So, you know, being an intermediary and being the person or the organization that promotes and has the communication between both sides. Like, I mean, Calvert's got a YP group, Charles has a YP group. We all have talked to all of our chambers of commerce. So the infrastructure is there. It's just getting the word out to the right people. And sometimes that just takes time, but it's a really good point, is that without those intermediaries, you're always like this, right?
So there's something that you see around a lot of military organizations that have a lot of a skilled workforce that really doesn't exist down here. And that is the at the bar recruiting events. So if you go up near like Fort Meade, you know, you can't solicit someone that works for the government to come like make a direct offer, solicit them to leave the government, but you can put a job opening out, right? And then they come join it. And so one of the things that happens around Fort Meade quite regularly is that like a company will hold an event that'll interest, let's say, a group of engineers of a specific mindset, some type of little hackathon, and they buy out the bar. You know, it's like 2 drinks and dinner's free if you show up at the hackathon. And then also there's this giant wall of job applications and the, you know, right over there, and there's a stack of paper job applications, and you can just fill one out and drop it in the box. And the salaries are listed there, like they're pretty open about the whole thing. And you can just show up and have your 2 beers and your hamburger and play a weird game of chess with a computer if you want. You know, you don't have to do any of it. But we don't really have recruiting events like that down here, and they don't have to be targeted to the military, but we don't really have. So you have all these natural leaders. You, Christina, have organized a lot of them into one group, and then you've got organizations looking for leaders, and they kind of sponsor the events, but they don't really make a showing at the events, and they don't attempt to make any recruitments at the events. So I think that there's a ripe opening for some of the organizations in our area to just start recruiting at some of these events. And just, they can be blatant about it, you know, instead of putting up a board that has your logo on it and, hey, yeah, we paid $100 towards these appetizers. Put up a board with like 2 or 3 job openings on it. Do it.
Yeah, no, so I agree. There's, you know, there are a lot of people here who are interested in hiring young professionals. There is a huge retention issue, obviously, here in Southern Maryland generally. And so part of what, you know, my grander plan, I guess, for SMYP is to, at some point, for companies that we eventually will partner with, we'll end up having kind of an internal job board for those companies that are accessible to our members. And we have had, so in the past, we have had a couple of folks do recruiting at our socials, but it hasn't been anything remotely like what you've seen up at Fort Meade. I think because it's such a small community and because it's so insular, people are pretty pretty closed about when they are seeking out positions and don't necessarily want to be seen. This could just be my perception from a couple of things, but they don't necessarily want to be seen as being recruited for something or being seen talking to a recruiter, because the recruiter could be the neighbor of your CEO or whatever, just because it's so small here. So there are a couple of things like that, but to kind of take your point, Matt, with the leadership opportunities that are non-work related, it's a great opportunity to bring together SMYP, the other YP groups, and nonprofits perhaps, to talk about openings for the nonprofit boards, to talk about ways that we can be more engaged in our environment. So it's something that we've talked about really not fleshed it out a lot, but it is something that we've talked about in the past, about doing kind of a nonprofit fair of sorts. And we talked about it a couple of years ago with some of the folks from Sabre, and looking at how we can get young people engaged in our Southern Maryland environment in ways that will make them feel like this is home for them, which, if you guys have ever heard me talk in any other situation, that's kind of my whole point of you can only retain people if they decide that where they live is home, right? It's not where they live, it's not where they work, it's not, where they have some good bars. It is what makes something feel like home to people. And if you grew up, for example, playing oh, sorry, Erin. You're muted.
I just want to say something when you're done.
Okay. But if you grew up playing soccer and that's a huge part of your life, and then all of a sudden you move to Southern Maryland and you don't have soccer anymore, how are you expecting that to feel like home? How, if you were always engaged in the library system and were volunteering there when you were growing up, if you don't do that down here, how can you make this feel like home otherwise, right? So kind of trying to partner people up with the things that they care about, helping them find that here, is something that we've talked about in the past. So Matt, that's a good reinvigorator, I guess, for me to take a look at that. Erin, what's up?
So I feel like on that note, it seems there are two worlds here in St. Mary's. My husband's active duty Navy, and our first move down here was in 2007 for test pilot school. And the Navy world, that was a whole different perspective on Southern Maryland. Then we moved away. We came back in 2014, and now we're farmers, and we're staying put. And we have been exposed via the agricultural end of things, and having lived here long enough to form new relationships with other businesses and people. It's a whole different world, it almost seems, that we just didn't even know existed on our first tour here. So I think that at least my perspective is that there's two different worlds, and maybe trying to find how to bring those two together in order for people to feel like this is home, and connect both sides, both the Navy, or not just Navy, but anybody base that's recruited from here, recruited to here. I was a teacher at Great Mills High School back in 2007, and St. Mary's school district recruits from all over because they just don't have the people here. So there's a lot of people from New York, Pennsylvania. So there's a lot of recruitment that comes into the county. But like you said, how do you get these people to feel like they want to stay? I mean, that's huge. But anyway, just my 2 cents.
No, I mean, it's a really good point. Yeah, what, Lindsay?
I just wanted to add on to that. Like, I totally agree about the two worlds thing, because it took me almost 2 years to get integrated down here. Because when I moved down here, the county, like the Visit St. Mary's website wasn't up. So I couldn't just Google things to do in Southern Maryland and things would pop up. You had to like know someone to introduce you to things. And it wasn't until I met someone at the dog park who introduced me to stuff down here that I knew anything was here. And you're right, it is like very like two worlds sort of thing. But what's really encouraging is that I am seeing like people making their own opportunities to make Southern Maryland their own. So like, you're talking about how you make this place feel like home. Like if you play soccer forever and then you don't know where to play soccer, what do you do? So I have a friend who loves doing improv comedy. Like that's like her favorite thing. And she studied in Chicago to do it. And she absolutely loves it. But she came back to Southern Maryland and there was nothing going on for improv comedy. So she made a class to teach people improv. She does it at Shepherd's Oldfield Market. And now there's like a big booming like improv group down here, and I'm part of it, by the way. And back in February, we even did like a nonprofit show to raise money for hospice. So it's like really cool that like there's like this whole new thing that was created because someone wanted something down here that didn't already exist. And I think there's a lot of people down here like that, like making their own opportunities. I think that's really encouraging to see.
No, I mean, I completely agree. That was exactly my experience, Lindsay, right? I mean, it took me, yeah, you know, I always joke, it takes you 6 months to really dislike it here. It takes you a year for your lease to be up, and it takes you 2 years to actually start finding the stuff that you really like here, which is completely the opposite of how it should be, right? There is a lot going on here. But it is, Dominic sent me a note, and to his point, everything is word of mouth, right? So if you can't find something, you either are not at all in the right sphere, or you just have to make it yourself, right? That's why SMYP exists, right? I mean, totally self-serving. I wanted some friends, right? that was a big reason why this started, was how do I find people that are, you know, that are interested in the same things that I am, that want to engage with other professionals, right? So Lindsay, it's exactly the same thing. And I think there's an opportunity pretty uniquely down here. It's not a big city, right? There aren't 5 different organizations fighting for the same mission, fighting in the same pool for money or for sponsorships or whatever. It's a really good opportunity to just start something new and something that you care about, that you're passionate about. And with the networking opportunities that come through things like LSM, I think it makes it a little bit easier down here, because you can have that really tight core and get off the ground. So pluses and minuses to the word of mouth thing. Good morning, Lauren. So Lauren just joined us. She is also a participant in this year's Pilot Leap class. So welcome, thanks for joining. So we were just talking a little bit about, you know, how we all are trying to make this environment home for us, and the leadership opportunities that are here that we may or may not be aware of. So that's kind of where we're sitting, Lauren. But Lindsay, I really, that was a really good point that you brought up. And I think we do have to make our own leadership opportunities. If we don't see that there is necessarily one available, or if we don't feel like our voices are being heard in other environments.
It's a cool opportunity to be able to make your own thing. Like, you don't get that everywhere.
Yeah. No.
Anyways, I've got a 9 o'clock teleconference, so I got to bug off. But it's good seeing all of you.
Yeah, you too. Thanks, Lindsay.
Bye.
And that actually does bring us to kind of we're hitting 5 minutes till 9. So I understand that everybody's time is precious these days, and we all probably have the rest of our days full of Zoom calls. So I just want to, I'm going to turn it over to Denise and Erin to do any wrap up, any other things that you want us here on the call to know about, anything that you want the people who may or may not listen to this recording to know about, and then we can kind of do a quick around the room for any last comments after that. So Erin?
I guess, Denise, do you have anything? I guess the only thing I can think of off the top of my head is that we, LSM is providing a community outreach during COVID. And on our website, Leadership Southern Maryland, leadershipsomd.org, we have a relief fund, a response fund on the website. Denise, you would be able to speak better to this. Would you like to talk about it?
Sure. Well, coming together, of course, that's what we try to do at LSM, and our committees came together in a virtual happy hour and decided that this is the time we're taking a break from programming to try and help where we can in the community. So we started a fund. It is on the website. We're working on several initiatives. The first one is going to include some Healthy Start breakfasts for all 3 of our hospitals in the region. That starts the week of the 27th of April. Around the week of May 12th, we're planning a Signs of Encouragement, where we're going to put some signs around at some of the organizations that we want to know that we're there for them, and that we're in this together. And then we're still working on some things even going forward. So for the next few months, we're going to work really hard to share our support for our community.
Great. Awesome. Thanks, Denise. I appreciate it. And Erin, thanks for going through and kind of talking to us about LSM and LEAP and the opportunities that that are there for our demographic. And hopefully we'll be able to talk to all of you a little bit more once we kick off our application process in the summer, when hopefully we can all see each other in person and not have to do it on Zoom. So I'll go around real quick. Connor, did you have anything else for the group?
Nope, I'm good. Thank you, Denise and Erin, for presenting and joining us today, and thank you everyone else for coming.
Yeah. All right, Destiny.
Yes, just 2 things. When we were talking about recruitment a little bit earlier, I just wanted to share that from our economic development department, when we go meet with businesses, or if businesses call us, we share recruitment packets with them. We started this about mid last summer. So like every business is not aware. We try to make them aware. So we'll have, if they have people coming in for interviews, or if they have new hires, we share information. We make physical recruitment packets with them. We either drop it off or they come and pick it up. That has one, like our tech handbook that has like the 200 plus tech companies located here, or it has Life in St. Mary's. It has information about SMYP, Southern Maryland Innovates. We put all of this, we have information from Visit St. Mary's. So we put all of this together just to make it easy for, those incoming people to learn about St. Mary's County and then just choose, what they want to do. So please share that. If you can just mention it and give them my email address, and I'll happily make them for them. And then the other thing I wanted to bring up is starting tomorrow or Friday, I have a phone call about this after this meeting. There's going to be, we'll be releasing a press release for a restaurant boost program in St. Mary's County. So it will be a value-added program. So for every $25 gift card, the county will add $10 to those gift cards as a way to infuse money into locally owned and operated restaurants. Yeah, so I have a call about that at, I think, 9:30. So you all will probably see an email from me with a press release tomorrow or Friday with more information about that. So we'll have a website with all the participating restaurants in it. And right now, information is just going out to restaurants. So. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Destiny. You guys are doing such a great job with this. And I don't know if any of the rest of you are on the distribution list from economic development, but if you aren't, they have a ton of information that comes out very transparent. Chris has been really communicative about what's going on in the county with COVID and the resources that are available to people. So I would highly encourage you guys to subscribe to that newsletter. So thank you, Destiny. Lauren, I know you popped in kind of towards the tail end, and you were doing a bunch of planting, I think, this week, right?
Yeah, it's been a busy week for us, and I apologize for jumping in late. I just was able just to get out the door, and it's been a hectic morning, so I wanted to jump on and at least catch the tail end, but I'm glad you're recording it, so at least I can go back and revisit everything, all the good information that you guys shared, I'm sure. And this is the first time I've used Zoom on my phone, so that's been a little bit of a learning experience too. And I'm going to be doing another Zoom meeting with the Maryland Wineries Association. We're doing a live Facebook update on featuring Port of Leonardtown and just kind of giving an update and trying to get exposure to the local wineries. So if you guys are available at 3, then join in the fun.
Yeah, Lauren, if you want to send over that information, I'm happy to get that out to folks too.
Absolutely, yeah, I'll share it with I'll share it on the Young Professionals page.
Super, thanks. Matt, do you have anything else for us today?
I've got one item. The on the topic of starting your own group in the area, highly encourage people to do that. And as an example of what can be done, admittedly, the COVID-19 crisis amplifies everything and accelerates, but we think that knowing a few of the older people in the community that are well connected and using them plus social media to get the word out about a group starting is a really good idea. And as an example, keep your ears open for the Southern Maryland gown makers. It hasn't started yet, and hopefully in 2 weeks we'll be making hundreds of gowns a day. So we can check in a week or two and see if our goal to create a group down here works and how we did it.
Excellent. Thanks, Matt. I can always count on your entrepreneurial spirit for this. I don't know. Am I missing anybody? I don't know if Dominic has been able to unmute himself. But Dominic, if you happen to unmute yourself and have any comments, otherwise, I really appreciate everybody being here today. And it's been a wonderful opportunity to learn more about LSM, to talk about LEAP. And it took a little bit of a different turn than I was expecting in talking about boards and board memberships and how to get involved with that. So for anybody else that's watching this later, we'll be working all together, I guess, on figuring out how to get that information better out to you if you are interested in participating. So it is now just past 9, and I want to thank you guys again for dialing in, and hopefully we will all be connecting again next week. We will be having Tommy Luganville from TechPort talking about TechPort and some of the other initiatives that are going on up there, and his participants in his innovation ecosystem. So tune in. We're going to try and do it again at 8. So stay tuned for more information on that. On that note, go forth and conquer on this Wednesday, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.